Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reganelite's Global News, episode 77. We're 77 episodes in. How you guys doing? I hope you're all doing well. We've got some breaking news that's come in the last 5 minutes, and we're going to go straight to that first before we go to some of the other topics here. But I hope you guys are all doing well. We've got several different stories to look at. Mainly some from the Middle East, and we have obviously one from Russia we'll look at. We are going to look at one American story, and a very interesting one from Greenland, of all places, as well. I thought I'd share. It's a bit of a mixed one, really, especially if you are somebody who's keen on football. You'll probably like this, probably find this story fascinating. We also have one funny video and one funny memes to go with as well. I'm not sure how long this live stream is going to go. We'll just see how things pan out. Unfortunately, I just have some news I need to share with you guys as well. I will update it in a moment. Unfortunately, All Schultz has had to pull out of the round table, so he will not be joining us on Thursday, I'm afraid, with myself, Random Scottish History, and Graham Price, Power to the People. I'm just waiting confirmation Graham Price is still okay for it. He should be fine, but I'm just waiting for confirmation close to the time. I have got a replacement. You can have a guess who that person is. But I have got somebody in, and I will basically put up the tab. I will update the tab to that later on today if I get a chance, guys. So I just wanted to let you guys know there. Stephen Banker, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Just popped over from Witchy Goth's channel. Oh, I hope she's doing well. I apologize. I've been so busy today. Again, like I just haven't had a chance to breathe. Look at my headphones. They've just the tops have just completely broken off here. Don't know what on earth's happened to them, but really annoying. Anyways, let's get started, guys. Really want to dive straight into this. I did have the article I put up already, but I think this is actually probably better. So this is Kier Starmer's statement on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and our plan for peace, including the reconciliation of a Palestine state. Let's just listen to it in full before we give our thoughts, guys.
On the 7th of October 2023, Hamas perpetrated the worst massacre in Israel's history. Every day since then, the horror has continued. The hostages are still being held today. The Palestinian people have endured terrible suffering. Now, in Gaza, because of a catastrophic failure of aid, we see starving babies, children too weak to stand, images that will stay with us for a lifetime. The suffering must end. Yesterday, I discussed this with President Trump, and we're mounting a major effort to get humanitarian supplies back in by air, and UK aid has been airdropped into Gaza today, and crucially, by land. We need to see at least 500 trucks entering Gaza every day. But ultimately, the only way to bring this humanitarian crisis to an end is through a long-term settlement. So we are supporting the US, Egyptian and Qatari efforts to secure a vital ceasefire. That ceasefire must be sustainable, and it must lead to a wider peace plan, which we're developing with our international partners. This plan will deliver security and proper governance in Gaza and pave the way for negotiations on a two-state solution. Our goal remains a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable and sovereign Palestinian state. But right now, that goal is under pressure like never before. I've always said that we will recognise a Palestinian state as a contribution to a proper peace process at the moment of maximum impact for the two-state solution. With that solution now under threat, this is the moment to act. So today, as part of this process towards peace, I can confirm the UK will recognise the State of Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly in September, unless the Israeli government takes substantive steps to end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire, and commit to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution. And this includes allowing the UN to restart the supply of aid and making clear that there will be no annexations in the West Bank. Meanwhile, our message to the terrorists of Hamas is unchanged and unequivocal. They must immediately release all of the hostages, sign up to a ceasefire, disarm, and accept that they will play no part in the government of Gaza. And we'll make an assessment in September on how far the parties have met these steps. But no one should have a veto over our decision. So this is the way forward. We will keep working with all our international partners to end the suffering, get aid flooding into Gaza, and deliver a more stable future for the Middle East. Because I know that is what the British people desperately want to see. Thank you.
So there's a few things to unpack here. So first and foremost, Keir Starmer did not criticise Israel again. He has not criticised Israel once again, not pointing out that they are the ones responsible for holding the Palestinian population to ransom. He has not criticised the Israeli government. He has not criticised Benjamin Netanyahu. He's not criticised those directly responsible for the situation that is happening inside Gaza. So this is, again, another failure of his leadership here. For all the tough talk he put in this speech, he once again fails to criticise the man and the government that are responsible for the situation that is happening inside Gaza. Now, I agree with him on we want to see, obviously, the dismantling of Hamas, but we want to see the hostages released, and that they should not be taking part in any future governments of Gaza. However, in order to get a ceasefire, you need to get the Israeli government to agree to something. The problem is, and we've discussed this time and time again here on this channel, the problem is that if they agree to any kind of ceasefire, Israel, it means that the Israeli government will collapse. And then what do I mean by that? Well, it's been held by a coalition of parties. And those coalition of parties, some of them are very extreme far right. And they will not budge on those issues. They will not budge on having a ceasefire. If they get a ceasefire, they will walk out and the government will collapse. We know that the pressure is mounting on Netanyahu because it's not just happening internationally, which is, I don't know why it's taken so long for international organizations as well, but also it's been happening in Tel Aviv. There have been protests building up in Tel Aviv because the public are fed up with this war as well. They want a ceasefire as well. They just want the hostages out now. Yes, of course, many of them are pretty brainwashed in wanting the complete and total annexation of the Gaza Strip. But for all the tough talking from Keir Starmer here, it is dead. It's dead talk. It's just air as far as I'm concerned, because he won't criticise the one party and the one prime minister who is responsible for all this. And you just cannot take this man seriously. And he's trying to present this in a way of, Israel, you're going to do this or we are going to recognise the state of Palestine. And I'm just like, do you honestly think that's going to shift the needle? Do you honestly think Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be terrified of the United Kingdom recognizing Palestine as a state if they don't agree to some kind of reconciliation? And my answer is no. I don't think that Netanyahu is going to be intimidated in any way, shape, or form by this, in any way. And I can just see, as of right now, I haven't heard Israel's response, but I'm going to assume that they're going to accuse them of being supporting terrorists and whatnot and that. But that clearly is not what he said in the statement there. But that is pretty much what he has said there. Ellie, good to see you there. I hope you are doing well. Alistair Kier, good to see you there. I hope you are doing well. Should rules not be directed at both sides? Peace would have been a better deal. Yeah, says Stephen Banker. Hello, Pete's Music. Good to see you there. And anybody else lurking in the chats. So before that announcement was made, this story came out beforehand, guys. So I wanted to direct you to this story here from Middle Eastern Eye. This was before the announcement by Kier Starmer. So the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu presents a plan to annex parts of Gaza. The Israeli media said that the Prime Minister has put forth a new strategy to annex the Gaza Strip in stages. And that we know that they're going to be doing this in stages. They're not going to do it all at once. We know they're going to do it in stages. They're going to take chunks and chunks at a time. That's the plan. The plan is to literally make sure and push every single resident out of their place. And if they don't move out, as they move in and take over parts of the Gaza Strip, they will kill them. Anyone who's left behind, basically. This is what their plan is. This is what's always been their plan is here. We knew this. We know this is their plan. We've always known this is a plan. Ministers have publicly said that they want to annex Gaza as well. So this, unfortunately, is something that you're not hearing. I'm not hearing. I didn't hear Kier Starmer criticize the Israeli government's plans to annex the Gaza Strip. I'm not hearing anything from Trump. I mean, I know that I have heard that Trump's obviously upset about seeing the pictures of starving babies. That has kind of moved him for some reason, which is kind of weird because I didn't realize he had emotions and feelings, but apparently it did. So perhaps maybe he is in favor of pushing more aid in. But yeah, this situation is pretty darn grim at the moment. So the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that Israel will move to annex parts of Gaza Strip if a ceasefire agreement with Hamas is not reached, according to Israeli media. Bear in mind, this was before the Kier Starmer made his announcement, guys. So the remarks were made during a war cabinet meeting on Monday, which included Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and National Security Minister Ishmael Ben-Gvir. Now, it's not Hamas it's not Hamas in terms of the agreement. The problem is that what Israel want is they want permanent control of Gaza. And that's the problem. And Hamas will not agree to that. And the Palestinian people, rightly so, will not agree to it either. Why would they agree to such a thing? And the problem is that Israel will never agree to leave the territory because they're paranoid, seriously paranoid about being attacked again, which is, considering how battered the Hamas have been and the state that Palestine is in, it's folly. And I've said the solution is a third party or UN peacekeepers in the Gaza Strip. I feel like why nobody is talking about this option, I don't know. But I feel like that's the main option that should be made in this. So according to the Israeli news outlet Walla, Netanyahu presented a new strategy and political plan that marks a shift from Israel's previous approach in more than 20 months of war in Gaza. Netanyahu is said to have told the cabinet that Israel does not intend to wait indefinitely for Hamas to respond to a proposed temporary ceasefire brokered by US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. If no agreement is reached soon, Israel will reportedly begin annexing the territory within the Gaza Strip. The report further states that the cabinet discussed and establishing a designated administrative body to oversee both civilian and security control in these areas. And meanwhile, Israeli military officials have reportedly not abandoned the controversial humanitarian city plan, which aims to concentrate the Palestinian population in a closed compound in the southern Gaza Strip. The proposals have been widely criticised and likened to a concentration camp for Palestinians ahead of a potential expulsion from the territory. According to the report, infrastructure work is underway in the Rafah area for the project. On Monday, US President Donald Trump suggested he wants Israel to change course regarding its actions in Gaza following disagreements in the negotiations between Israel and Hamas. During Trump's visit to Scotland, he told reporters, "I told Israel, I told Bibi that you have to now maybe do it in a different way." The new plan presented to the cabinet on Monday has the support of Trump, according to a report in the Harris. The plan proposes a phased annexation of the Gaza Strip, beginning with areas with so-called buffer zones, followed by northern regions near Sotomayor and Ashkelon. House has reported that the process is intended to continue gradually until Israel annexed the entire Gaza Strip. The moon is seen as a political concession to Smokovich. The finance minister, who previously warned that if a single grain of humanitarian aid goes into Gaza, that will leave the government and the cabinet, came under heavy domestic criticism following the announcement that humanitarian aid would resume entering Gaza. Well, let him go, because he's a cold-hearted bastard as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely cold-hearted bastard. Israel's month-long restriction of the entry of food and humanitarian assistance has triggered a catastrophic humanitarian crisis in the besieged enclave. If you want to compare someone I think worse than Hitler, Smokovich is probably definitely that. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, at least 147 Palestinians have died of starvation, including 88 children. And since the start of the war in October 2023, Israeli forces have killed more than 60,000 Palestinians. We reported that number, obviously, this morning, including over 18,500 children, wounded more than 145,000 others, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. Despite Israel's announcement of the resumption of humanitarian aid, international organizations said assistance remains insufficient to address the widespread famine across Gaza. In a video posted on X, an account on Monday, Netanyahu stated, "In any path we choose, we may be forced to allow the minimal humanitarian aid to Gaza." The following day, at a settlers' conference, Smokovich added, "No one in the world will allow us to starve 2 million civilians, and therefore we need to bring in aid." This is the same one that basically... This is the same fucker that basically said, if humanitarian aid goes into Gaza, I will leave the cabinet. And here he is saying, here we need to bring in aid. What a disgusting human being. He added that Gaza was an inseparable part of the land of Israel, and that Israel would simply not hand it from one Arab to another. It's not a part of Israel. It belongs to the Palestinian people. It doesn't belong to you and does not belong to Israel. Well, obviously, things are developing quite quickly. Obviously, with regards to the Palestinian state possibly potentially being recognised by the UK government. But I think the way he's tried to do it is tried to force Netanyahu's hand into Keir Starmer's trying to force Netanyahu's hand into doing something about this all. I do think there may have been some political pressure as well there's been political pressure from the US as well to do something about this as well. I mean, less, of course, obviously, ultimately, I'd like a ceasefire. But the main priority for me is I just want to see food getting in. I just want aid to get in. And I just want people to stop dying of starvation. I just want it to stop. I just want it desperately to stop. And the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to basically just fuck off and disband and allow the United Nations, the UN, to continue what it was doing before. Israel have tried to pull a blinder on the world and continue to try and do what they do and thought they could justify it. But the world was getting more and more angry about it. And finally, world leaders have had to say, you know what, actually, we can't actually allow images of starving children being shown in the media, the world media. We actually have to do something about it. And it's only because of starving children that the images have been shown. It's only because of that governments have actually had to stand up and take action. When everyone was kicking and screaming, saying, this is going to happen! Someone do something! Because that's what everyone was bloody saying beforehand. And only now, when you see people in the states that they're in, when you see the boneless bodies, only now they stand up and pay fucking attention. Everyone was saying that this was going to happen. And where were they all? Oh, now they fucking care. No, they don't care. This is the thing, guys. The only reason they're doing this is because it makes them look bad. This is about politics to a lot of these world leaders. They don't give a fuck about these people. Okay? This is all about politics and about their image. And if they stood there and did nothing about it, it would make them look bad. It's all about politics to them. They don't care about the Palestinian people, because if they did, they would have done something about it far, far sooner. This is all about their image. This is all about making sure they maintain a status quo. This is for them. It's like, look, I actually care. I actually care. That's why I'm making sure we're getting aid in there. That's why I care. Even though we were bloody telling Keir Starmer time and time again about this. Macron, same thing. We recognise the Palestine. Well, where the fuck were you when everybody was telling you what was happening? So many world leaders talk so much shit, and only now they actually care. Oh, now that they actually see images of dead and boneless people, they actually realise, oh, actually, we better do something about this, because this will make me look bad. This will hurt my street cred. Because that's what they're more concerned about. They're not concerned about these people. They're not. These world leaders tell you, any of these prime ministers or presidents, yeah, tell you they're talking hogwash. Ireland, Scotland, obviously we know they've been saying the right things the whole time. We know that for a fact. And obviously some countries have been calling out on it. But we know the ones who haven't been doing enough on it. We know the ones. It is politics. It is political choices, Stephen Banker. It's always been. And it's not right that you play with people's lives like this. It's just not right. It's immoral. It's immoral from the UK government. It's immoral from the French government. It's immoral from the US government. It's immoral from all these world leaders, these so-called G7 leaders who are supposed to be standing above and tall. It's immoral for all of them to have allowed this to happen when the warning signs were consistently there, time and time again. And I'm not ranting for the sake of it, guys. It's just people have died needlessly that did not need to die. People died of hunger that did not need to die. Children did not need to die. This did not need to happen. None of this needed to happen. And that's why I'm upset. I'm not ranting for the sake of it, guys. I'm upset because people died and did not need to die. That's the thing that really upsets me the most about all of this, is the loss of life that did not need to happen. Choices made by the few for the many, and it just isn't working, says Stephen Baker. It isn't working. No, it's true. Thank you for the £5 super chat, Alston Kier. Appreciate it. Take care of them and give them the land to live in, says Chow. Yeah. I mean, I don't think this is worth reading, if I'm honest, but because we've already kind of covered it. But yeah, Starmer said the UK will recognise Palestine state unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire. Well, we've listened to the speech already from Keir Starmer. I mean, personally, I just don't know. Like, I just want the ceasefire I want the ceasefire. I want a ceasefire as soon as possible, guys. But more importantly, I just want aid and food to get in. I don't want to see those bodies. I don't want to see those images anymore. I just don't want to see those images. I really, really don't just want to see them anymore, guys. I really, really don't. That's the thing that really upsets me the most. I just don't want to see it anymore. That's the part that really upsets me the most. Because at the end of the day, these are human beings just like you and I. And I know that Israel's mind, some of these people's minds in Israel have been warped to believe that they're indifferent or insufferable and whatnot based on their history and the culture and religion and all that kind of stuff. I get that their minds are warped like that. But I can't think and feel like that, not based on what I've read and what I've learned and what I've been taught in life. It just goes against my morals, my principles. And it's just time and time again, it's just been so frustrating, guys. So we are going to move on from this, guys. I'm sure Max will cover a little bit of this tonight as well. He'll be covering obviously basically UK, but I'm sure he'll mention obviously the announcement from the Prime Minister as well. I may add some more to it tomorrow on tomorrow's Good Morning show as well. But we're going to move on from this, and we'll keep an eye on it as things proceed, guys. So moving on to this story from the United States. So the United States had to burn $9.7 million worth of USAID-purchased contraceptive rather than delivering them to women overseas. This is so you know, we just talked about the immoral and inhumanity here. This is just outright outrageous here. That the Trump administration, rather than give these contraceptives that could actually make a difference to women's lives here, they want to burn nearly $10 million worth of USAID-purchased contraceptive, rather than delivering to women overseas. Like, what on? Like, how is this Doge? How is this money saving? What is wrong with people? Like, honestly, what is wrong with them? Like, I know some of them are fanatics, but literally, like, this headline just reeks of, wow, fuck you, Trump. Like, that really is what it screams to me here. Like, I mean, so many women go through so much pain and suffering around the world. You know, it's a battle for women, to be treated as equals as men. And thankfully, in many parts of Western society, we do have that. Of course, there's always more that needs to be done. Absolutely, I 100% agree. But this just turns my stomach so much here, because we're talking about something that could really make a difference to women. And instead of actually delivering the aid, they would just rather burn it. It's insane. So the Trump administration is set to destroy $9.7 billion worth of US purchased contraceptive rather than deliver them to women overseas, following a dismantling of foreign assistance programs carried out by the US Agency for International Development, or USAID. The preliminary decision to destroy USAID procure birth control was confirmed by a State Department spokesperson, who said the cost of incinerating them would be $167,000. It's not about the cost that infuriates me here. Like, they're looking at this. They're looking at their government. They look at things of how they operate like a goddamn business. They're not looking at the fact that people need this. That's the thing that really upsets me here. This is so depressing. The contraceptive have been housed in a warehouse in Kier, Belgium. The Belgian Foreign Ministry said it was engaged in diplomatic talks with the US Embassy to work to find alternative solutions to supplies. Can some European countries just buy this off them so that it doesn't go to waste? Can we do that? Like, can we get a bunch of European nations to basically cough up some money to pay this off so that they don't incinerate something that could actually make a difference to women? Is that too much to ask? Like, because clearly the Trump administration aren't prepared to hold on to it and do a little bit of good in the world anymore. Well, so I say, the Trump administration, not the US in total. The contraceptives are mostly long-lasting types of birth control, told as indoctrinated devices, that's IUDs, and injectables, a US congressional aide told CNN. It is not clear when the supply will be destroyed, according to the aide. They have to double incinerate the products because they contain high level of hormones, and they don't want to risk leaking the byproduct out in the environment, which is likely to add to the cost. The congressional aide said the Trump administration is quite literally burning taxpayer money. Yeah, it's not just burning taxpayer money, as you've just literally pointed out here. You're going to damage literally the environment by burning it. Oh my days. A list of the supplies shared by CNN by another source with knowledge of the warehouse stock shows that contraceptive, including copper IUDs, rod implants, birth control injections, and Liveron Gasco and Ifanil Estradaro, don't laugh, tablets. Yeah, you try saying those names. Some have USA branding, but the majority do not, according to the source list. Most of the products expire in 2028 and 2029. 2020. Well, so they don't expiring for several years still, and you still want to burn them. I mean, maybe if they were expiring this year, there might be a bit of an argument to burn it. Maybe, but still, they got 3-4 years dates on them, with the earliest expiry dates among the products in April 2027, so at least 2 years. Okay, just under 2 years if you want to be exact. according to a list detailing nearly 5 million items. The US State Department, a spokesperson referred to the contraceptives to be destroyed as certain Afro-Belgian birth control commodities from terminated Biden-era USAID contracts. Yeah, because it was all Biden stuff. That's why they're getting rid of it. There is a controversy about whether to describe certain contraceptives as I can't say that word. I don't even know what that means. Abolefacient or causing abortion due to a debate over whether life begins at the moment an egg is fertilized or the later stage. Oh yeah, of course this is all about birth control, isn't it? Some birth control methods, including IUDs, may be worked by preventing the implantation of a fertilized egg. However, IUDs primarily work by suppressing the release of the eggs or by preventing sperm from reaching an egg. CNN has approached the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists for comment. Quote, only a limited number of commodities have been approved for disposal. No HIV medicines or condoms are being destroyed, the spokesperson added. USAID avoided an additional $34.1 million in taxpayer costs by negotiating a new cost cancellation of pending orders under the Biden administration. Wow, they really, really wanted to stop everything that Joe Biden did. Like literally cancelling the cancelling contracts and dealings that they had with some of them, saving taxpayer money as well. That could have made a difference to people's lives. Wow. According to media reports that the contraceptives were set to be transferred to a French medical waste facility to be destroyed by the end of July, a diplomatic source in France told CNN that the contraceptives were handled by private entities and they had no information concerning any transfers as of Thursday last week. We firmly believe the Belgian authorities are committed to find a solution in order to prevent the destruction of these contraceptives so that they may reach women and men around the world who need them and are waiting for them, the diplomatic source added. Access to quality sexual and reproductive health service and products is both a human right and a public health issue. US Senator Jane Sherlin sent a staff member to the warehouse in Belgium as part of her efforts to introduce legislation prohibiting the destruction of any such commodities unless all efforts to sell or donate them have been exhausted. This is the thing, like, why not, like, if you're not going to, this is the thing in here, like, if you're not going to use them, if you're not going to use them, if you're not going to sell them, then why not just give them to another country? Give them away, give it to someone else. Hell, give it to the Belgian authority and let them deal with it. Like, don't throw this away. Like, the thing is, like, the reason why they're talking about burning it, right, yeah, is because they don't believe, obviously, they because of their certain religions. You know how they're fixated about, you know, women, like once a baby is born or whatever inside the womb, it's a real, the baby is a life and you cannot touch that life and you can't do anything to disrupt that life in any way, shape or form or what thing. You know, all about taking away women's rights and all this stuff. That's what it all is. And any government that succeeds Trump won't be able to restart many of these programs because they were decades in building. Sorry, what did you say in your first part? And any government... Oh, okay, that was what you were saying. Because they were decades in building. Yeah, I mean, like, for me, like, the thing is they don't want to donate it because they don't want to... They don't want people to take this. It's essentially what the Trump administration don't... Well, certain people, shall we say, not all... I don't know about all of them. But we'll say certain people who have power in the Trump administration do not want these being used in any way. Do not want to give them away. Want to destroy this stuff because they don't want women having some of this stuff. The staff also found that the earliest expiration date for contraceptive was 2027. Some of the supplies are not expiring until 2031. Some of it is not as far as 7 years, meaning they could still be in use for years to come. At the moment, when the Trump administration has made devastating cuts to foreign assistance, it is disappearing that the State Department would sign off on spending money to actually pay for commodities that would save lives and are waiting to be deployed. Shannon said in a statement, food and family planning commodities are desperately needed in conflict-affecting countries like Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo, where famine is taking hold. Offer to purchase the supplies were rejected. Belgian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Florida Braxley told CNN that the country was exploring all possible avenues to prevent destruction of these stocks, including their temporary relocation. An organization called MRI Reproductive Choices said it and other funding partners had offered to pay for the shipping and repackaging of the USA branded supply, but the US government had turned down the offer. See, this is the government basically saying, no, we cannot give them this stuff. This stuff is terrible for them. This is all the religious bullshit coming in here. This is all that religious bullshit here. This is what this is. This is all the religious bullshit basically saying, no, you can't give this stuff to the women. No. Once they're pregnant, that's it. It's no, all this kind of if and that and the other. That's what this is. It's absolutely bloody disgusting. This can save people's lives. Literally save people's lives. We're not given a reason for why this offer was not accepted. Because they don't want you to use it. They want it destroyed. It became clear in conversations that it wouldn't be, and that our efforts would be better spent finding alternative solutions to the contraception supplies gap, said Grace Dunn, a spokeswoman for MSI, which works in 36 countries to provide reproduction healthcare, including abortion service, contraception, and maternity care. So essentially, they're basically saying, you know, the government is basically saying, well, if you want to make the stuff, if you want to make the stuff and sell it out and all that kind of stuff, yeah, go right ahead, but we're not giving you any help or support whatsoever. That's the Trump administration's position. And they are saying this because they want some other countries to step up and buy it from them. It's all calculated. Well, they've been offered to buy it. Yeah, we've just seen here that they've been offered to pay for it, and they said no. The USA government and its companies have lost dozens of contracts to supplies MRIs for European countries, for example, and they manufacture those type of things, including in the suffering. They want more money for those goods. It's more than religion, in my opinion. Well, they've just literally this statement here saying they've been offered to pay for the shipping and packaging. The government turned it down. So I generally do not think it's money. It's about money. I think it's generally because of religion. I generally think it's more religion, in my opinion. This whole shit. In response to questions about the offer from CNN, the State Department highlighted the so-called Mexico City policy, which prohibits providing certain assistance directly or indirectly to foreign and non-governmental organizations that perform or actively promote abortion as a method of family planning. Oh, you are fucking kidding me. Sorry for the swearing, guys. I'm sorry, but my God. We do not believe that this is in the interest of family values, is what this is. The policy, which opponents call global gag rule, prevents non-governmental organizations that provide abortions, give counseling about abortions, or advocate for safe access to abortion from receiving US funding. The planned destruction of their contraceptives sparked an outcry from other organizations like Doctors Without Borders, which raised concerns about the contraceptive shortage in nations that were once reliant on the supply donated by USAID. In the communications served by MSF, which impacted by conflict, disease, outbreak, and human-made disaster, or exclusion from healthcare, access to contraceptives is already constrained. The organisation said in a statement, contexts that previously relied upon USAID-funded contraceptive supplies are at heightened risk of supply chain disruptions and stockout. MSF has seen firsthand the positive health benefits when women and girls can freely make their own health decisions by choosing to prevent or delay pregnancy, and the dangerous consequences when they cannot. The chief executive of MSF, USA, Avril Benoit, added. MSF also cited reports saying that more USA-branded contraceptives are being housed in the warehouse in the United Arab Emirates, but the organisation said the US government's plans for those supplies is unknown. They'll probably burn it because they don't want it being used again. State Department spokesperson did not address a question about contraceptive warehouse in UAE, CNN reached out to the UAE's government for comment. At the beginning of July, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio hailed the end of US aid, saying that the future foreign assistance program would align with administrative policies and to be administered by the State Department. The rapid dismantling of US aid, led by the Department of Government Efficiency DOGE, has seen thousands of foreign assistance programs slashed, including many that focus on life-saving work. A study published earlier this month by a leading medical journal, The Lancet, estimated that US aid funding cuts could result in more than 14 million additional deaths by 2030. US aid funding was more likely to reduce mortality related to HIV/AIDS, followed by malaria, according to the study. Yeah, I think we spoke about this before last week about, you know, the cutting of US aid and how much lives are going to be lost there. And it really is quite disheartening. I mean, it's just, they really, really care. They really, for them, it's about America first and F the rest of the world. It really is. It really is a case of, you know, we've got to stop helping these other countries. We've got to deal with our own, deal with ourselves. It's basically the message that they have here. It truly is really sad and really sad and heartbreaking because so many people are going to die as a result. I think it's going to end up getting burnt. I really do think it's going to end up getting burnt because if the US government are not going to take money from it, why would they not take an offer from it? You know, that they still insist on incinerating it despite the fact it will cost them money to do so. I'm pretty sure that the offer that they made would have been more than how much it would have cost to incinerate. And if the money is the incentive, why not take the money that's going to cost? If they get more money out of selling it rather than incinerate it, why not take that option? And my answer is I think it's generally down to religious bollocks. So we need we've got a couple. I've got a couple more stories for you guys. We'll come to in a bit about a Russian jail journalist. Who is Shane Devon Tamura? This is part of the New York City shooting we're going to look at. And why, and about Greenland and their football season. We're going to be talking about some of those stories, as well as funny memes, which is at the end of the show as well. So do stick around for them. But before we carry on, the fall, or when the fall happens, it will be swift. Hope you guys enjoyed this little one.
When the fall happens, it will be swift. Donnie doesn't have friends, not since the New York financier. He doesn't inspire actual loyalty, and by all reports, every single person who works with him hates him deeply. They are allies of opportunity, people with limited principles, shifting morals, and no loyalty at all. J.D. Vance switched teams as soon as he was ordered to by fascist asshole Peter Thiel. Marco Rubio publicly despises the man and only sticks with him for political expedience. Pam Bondi just wanted a job, and as soon as the ship is ankle-deep in water, she'll bolt. Kash Patel truly believed Trump was a hero, and he's clearly been disabused of that delusion. Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset who literally, like for real, prays at the feet of a cult leader. She's in a literal cult. Literally. For real. You think Ted Cruz will truly stick by his side? Marjorie Taylor Greene has already fled. When asked if Trump was a PDF file, her answer was, "I don't know," which for someone as insanely devoted as her might as well be yodeling his guilt from the mountaintops. When it finally hits, and it will be instantaneous. Every single hanger-on will be desperate to avoid the fallout. Good luck, Donnie.
Part of me finds it. I know it's like a part of me is just like, this didn't need to happen, but America chose for it to happen. What is this madness? It is the madness indeed, Benjamin. Good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. F family values from serial kids, diddlers, says Jao, says on the US government. If this keeps going, the US will need aid, and then I wonder will anyone help them. The whole thing is evil and immoral, says Pete's Music. It is evil and immoral, absolutely, guys. Thank you guys for your comments. I really appreciate them. I really do. Whenever I appreciate your feedbacks as always, guys. Just a quick reminder before we go any further, guys. If you want to check out additional content, you can check out Rumble and Patreon for additional content as well. There's free content that is there. There's also paid content on Patreon if you want to become a Patreon supporter as well. Do consider checking that out as well. I actually get a bigger cut from Patreon paid than I'd actually do from YouTube, so do consider joining the Patreon as well. Link for that is in the description. If you want to financially support me in any way, you can leave super chats down below like Alison Kier has done earlier today. Thank you. I really appreciate your support. Or be becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. If you become a YouTube member, guys, you get access to some custom emojis, which are pretty cool. You can't go wrong with custom emojis. Yeah, if you become a 199 member, you get early access to additional content, which is also nice. But also, if you're a YouTube member, the best thing about it all is you get to see pictures of our cat, Jasper. Yes, that is that's the best thing about becoming a YouTube member, is seeing pictures of our lovely cat, Jasper. How can you say no to that? So do consider checking out all the perks of becoming a YouTube member if you want to. If you can support me, it'd be greatly appreciated. Now, if you're somebody who's watching and you are financially struggling yourself and you can't support me in a financial manner, that's totally fine as well. The best ways you can do to support me is by hitting the like button, sharing this across social media if you can, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. You can also turn on the bell notification icon to be notified of when I go live. Sometimes it doesn't always work, so sometimes you need to turn it off and turn it back on to be notified when I go live, because that really does help as well. And also just watching videos and leaving comments, and that really does help. So if you can do that, it'll be greatly appreciated. We're not ending yet, Benjamin. We've got a couple more stories, so you're all right, my friend. We're still at the halfway point. So I just wanted to plug all that stuff there. So thank you guys so much for all your support. I really appreciate it. Right, let's move on, you guys. The next story I have for you guys is from Al Jazeera here. Russia really are cracking down even more than ever before. So, Russia have jailed journalists for alleged Navalny links amid crackdown on dissent. So, Olga Komavica had been sentenced to 12 years in prison for her past volunteer work with Navalny's banned party. So, even though this woman works as a volunteer for Navalny's banned party, yeah, not actually part of the opposition team or whatnot. Alleged because of alleged links to Navalny, she's been sentenced to 12 years in prison, basically. The video, grabbed from a handout of footage released from the Joint Press Service of Bolivar Republic, shows that Olga Komovic, 46, previously volunteered for Navalny's party, seen in UEFA court on July the 29th. This is apparently today. So a Russian court has sentenced journalist Olga Komovic to 12 years in prison on extremism charges over her links to an opposition group as the Kremlin intensifies its crackdown on dissent. So on Tuesday, Komovica, 46, was found guilty of extremist ties to for her past volunteer work with a late opposition leader Alexei Navalny's banned political party for allegedly spreading false information about the Russian army in a report on the war in Ukraine. Allegedly, yeah? Allegedly. The verdict underscores Moscow's expansion repression, which now targets not only active critics, but also those who were once affiliated with opposition groups. So, independent outlet Mezodiga reported that Komovica had volunteered for Navalny's party before it was outlawed in 2021. She later worked for the independent media outlet Rus News, covering anti-government protests and Russia's military assault on Ukraine. The Kremlin had escalated its decade-long clampdown on independent media amid its campaign in Ukraine by imposing sweeping censorship laws, effectively banning any criticism of the military. So so just wanted to play this one here for you guys. The Russian journalists were sentenced to 5 years in prison, accused of ties to late opposition leader Alexei Navalny. His foundation was labelled extremist by the Russian state. All four denied the charges, saying they'd been punished for reporting. Yeah, so it's not just her, it's a couple of others as well, guys. They worked with outlets including Reuters and the Associated Press as well. Yeah. So, a district court in the central Russian city of Ufa found that the defendant participated in the activities of an extremist community and to spread deliberate false information about the actions of the armed forces, it said in a statement. The court found the defendant guilty and sentenced her to 12 years in prison, it added. The journalist did not admit guilt or either charge. Kovica was seen smiling and waving from inside a glass defendant box after she heard the verdict and said, "I love you all," to a group of people who came to support her, according to a video published by Rus News. Kovica has diabetes and struggled to receive medication while in pre-trial detention, Mezodiga said. So there's a chance she'll probably die while she's in prison because she won't get her medicine. Navalny, President Vladimir Putin's main opponent, who died in the Arctic penal colony under unclear circumstances last year, was declared an extremist by Russian authorities in 2021. Russia banned Navalny's organization in the same fashion shortly before launching its 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine and has ruthlessly targeted those it deems to have links to him. Yeah, so, yeah, chances are that you're not going to be seeing this woman, I'm afraid, again. Very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. And we saw in this morning, I didn't have it, but obviously there's been some of the treatment of Russian soldiers. I didn't have that. I couldn't find that story again, and I'm glad I actually didn't bring it back up. Of any descendants of Russia, any Russian soldiers who descend are treated really like animals. They're hung up and brutalized and left for dead, basically. Some of them as well, which is pretty much brutality. Back in the USSR, says Jal. Yeah, it definitely appears that way. It's all but the USSR pretty much now. It is, unfortunately, appears to be the case. So one of the big stories that's been happening in the one of the big, really unfortunate thing is a terrible tragedy that occurred in New York City. A shooting took place, unfortunately, guys. So who is Shane Devon Tamura, and what do we know about the New York City shooting suspect? So the 27-year-old Navarra man left a note in the scene voicing anger that his mental illness may be linked to his having playing football. Officials familiar with the investigation told NBC News. So this guy went into a building, shot a bunch of people, and then he shot himself, basically, is what he did. He basically came from the other side of Las Vegas, because that's where he resided. Came all the way to New York City, went into one particular building, started shooting people, and then when he couldn't shoot enough people, he shot himself, unfortunately. Absolutely absolute tragedy. Why this person did what they did, why they went through why they did what they did, and why they couldn't get help. There's lots of questions that remain unanswered. What's worse about this? I hate shootings like this. Any shootings are obviously despicable. It's despicable and a terrible tragedy. But what's just as despicable about shootings like this is that not only have lives been lost, but the person responsible has shot themselves, and therefore there will be no accountability whatsoever. And that's the sad thing about all this as well. So those people who've lost loved ones as a result of this shooter, they will never get justice because the man has taken his own life. So a Nevada man who recently drove across the country has a documented mental health history and is accused of walking into a Manhattan building with a rifle and opened fire Monday evening, killing 4 people, including an NYPD officer, police said. Shane Devon Tamura, 27, went into 345 Park Avenue in Midtown just at the end of business Monday, armed with an M4 rifle, and opened fire in the lobby and again on the 33rd floor before he eventually killed himself, the New York Police Commissioner Jessica Trish had said. According to our law enforcement partners in Las Vegas, Mr. Tamura has a documented mental health history, Trish said. His motives are still under investigation. Officer Dalarul Islam, 36, who was off duty working a security job at the building, was one of the 4 people killed in the attack. The other victims, a man and 2 women, have not been identified. Tamura had a Las Vegas address. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's other victims. Tamura had a Las Vegas address, and the BMW he got out in Manhattan had registered him in Nevada. Inside the vehicle, investigators found a rifle case with rounds, ammunition, magazine, and a loaded revolver, Trish said. Also found was medication prescribed to her. Trish said she did not say what it was, said what kind or what it was for. Tamura's vehicle had recently driven across the country, officials said. He went through Colorado on Saturday, then Nebraska and Iowa on Sunday, and he was in California and New Jersey as recently at 4:24 p.m. Monday, the day of the shooting, as he entered New York City shortly thereafter, Trisk said. Why this location? Trisk said security video shows the shooter get out of a double parked black BMW while carrying an M4 rifle. The building security camera footage shows the shooter entering the lobby, turn right and immediately open fire on NYPD officers, Trisk said. The gunman then shot a woman taking cover behind a pillar and then fired at others before he took the elevator to the 34th floor, where he opened fire again and killed another person, she said. We are working to understand why he targeted this particular location, Trisk has said. Tenants of the building, including the NFL, Woodland Management, KPMG, and Blackstone. Officials familiar with the investigation told NBC News that the suspect left a note at the scene voicing anger that his mental illness may be linked to his having playing football. Investigators are looking into whenever that is why he targeted the Park Avenue building that houses the NFL offices, the official said. The official stressed that the investigation is early and ongoing. In addition to the weapon and ammo, a cell phone was found at the scene and attempts will be made to get in and see what might contain, the official said. 2 officials familiar with the matter said that in the note found at the shooting scene, the suspect wonders about CTE being a possible cause of his mental illness. The man who was wounded in the attack was hospitalized in critical but stable conditions on Monday night, Trish said. 4 others sustained minor injuries trying to flee, she said. NFL Commissioner Roger Gould told NFL employees that a league employee was seriously hurt in what he called an unspeakable act of violence. The employee was in stable condition at the hospital, Goodwill said in a statement. Tamura attended high school in Southern California where he played football, according to his former teammates, who said they were stunned to learn he was a suspect in the shooting. You never would have thought of violence to somebody you would associate him, former classmate Caleb Clark said. Everything he said was a joke. Trauma transferred to Grania Hills Charter School in Granadilla Hill, a neighboring in Los Angeles. In 2015, he was a senior, coming from a school in Santa Clarita, Clark says. Clark indicated that the pair lost touch but reconnected through social media recently, and that Trauma had worked at a Las Vegas casino. Former coach Wilbur Roby said that Trauma was a talented running back and a great player who was real elusive, real agile. He came in, worked hard, kept his nose down, Roby said. He was a quiet kid, well-mannered, very coachable. Whatever needed to be done, he would do. Roby said he was shocked that Trauma was suspected of carrying out a mass shooting. I'm just blown away right now, he said. In a 2015 Los Angeles Times article, Trauma was mentioned by his high school football coach ahead of the senior year. His coach said Trauma, running back, was one of the few players he was looking for big things from. A former Granada Hills teammate, Anthony Michael Leon, said he and his old football buddies had been texting one another in disbelief since they learnt that Trauma was identified as a gunman. This is so shocking, said Leon, 25. I'm telling you, this is one of those kids who never exert bad energy or negative attitudes. He said Trauma was in school's virtual program, which meant he took classes online and was in school only a couple of times a week outside of the football season. But Tamura excelled on the field and led mostly by example, Leon said. He was quiet, but when he did actually talk, people listened, Leon said. Leon said that he remembered Tamura earning all conference honours, but that Tamura did not appear to harbour ambitions to play in colleges or the NFL. I know so many kids in high school who want to make it clear that's all they wanted to do, Leon said, but I never got that from Shane. You don't really know somebody truly. When you think you know, sometimes you think you know somebody, but you just don't. There could be a lot of reasons why Shane did what he did, but you know, it's at the moment I know it's still too early to figure out here, but you know, one of the big problems with America is the guns. They always continue to point to it's not the guns, it's the people who hold the guns. They always say it's the people holding the guns, and it's just like, well, you know, so many Americans die every day of gun violence, almost all the time because of gun violence. And they just think it's not the guns. They just think it's not the guns. And there's a reason why people don't die of gun violence in Europe or in the UK, because we understand the dangers of guns. We understand the dangers of weapons. But Americans continue to believe that holding a gun keeps them feeling safe. They think it's safe for them. It's embedded in their DNA. It's embedded in their constitution. It's embedded in them that having a weapon makes them feel safe. What they don't realise is that it also kills people as well. I don't know if we're going to hear more about this story, but my absolute heart and condolences goes out to everyone who lost loved ones, and it's extremely awkward for people who were friends or family or relatives of Shane Devon to have learnt of this. Obviously, we didn't hear anything about family members there, so I'm not quite sure about that there in the article, but it's just another tragedy that did not need to happen, unfortunately. Moving on, guys, from that, the last story I've got for you guys is a very so especially if you like your football, you'll like this one. A documented mental health history, yet he's got the guns. Right to bear arms. Right to bear arms. So this is from Euronews. Frozen out. Greenland kicks off football's shortest season after international setback. Yeah. The Arctic Islands' ambitions of playing competitive international football remains a pipe dream after its pathway to FIFA membership was blocked. Now, why do I think that Greenland, obviously, are very passionate about football. And you can tell they're passionate about football because they literally have a football pitch here. And fair play to them, you know. It's a pretty, and it looks like a really good football pitch from here. You have to say, guys, looks like a really great football pitch. Now, obviously, they don't have a lot of don't have a lot of time. They don't have a lot of time, obviously, when it comes to being able to play it, because obviously the majority of the season, the majority of the year, obviously it's too cold and there's too many snowstorms, and obviously the pitch is covered in snow because it's Greenland. But they are very keen to obviously get football going. Now, understandably so. They don't. Obviously the government doesn't. The Greenland administration doesn't obviously have a lot of money. The problem is like, so what do you do? Because obviously, the thing is that I understand the frustration, and I kind of understand why FIFA are blocking this as well, which I will come to. But if Greenland wants to be participating more in football, especially on the international stage, they kind of need their football pitch to be inside. They need to have an indoor football pitch, basically, is what I'm saying. If they can get one inside, then it can work. But having it outside just doesn't work with their temperatures. I'm just generally admitting that. I know it sucks for them, but I just think this is quite a fascinating story, to talk about. Good evening, Alex Adams. Hope you're doing well. This is our last article of the live stream as well. So, against the backdrop of continuous sunlight and cold Arctic winds, the shortest season in football lasted only 1 week. Has just kicked off on the world's biggest island. 1 week! 1 week! The 54th Green Atlantic Football Championship started on Monday, featuring 8 teams and 20 games over 6 days in Nuuk, the capital of the semi-autonomous Danish territory. The season is so short because of Greenland's harsh climates and the complex travel logistics, with several teams located hundreds of kilometers away from the capital. During most of the year, the football-mad Arctic island is covered in ice and snow, and locals tend to stay indoors. Well, yeah, because of where they are geography-wise. But for 3 to 4 months each summer, the 24-hour sunlight and manageable temperatures, 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, sees thousands of islanders lace up their boots. We meet outside and play football all night long, says one player. Montgomery Kristerman said, It's not getting dark, and we have so much freedom. Yes, because for those who don't know, the cycles of because of where they are situated on the geography scope, during the summers they have longer day. They basically don't see any nighttime, but during the winters they have lots of nighttime. So it differentiates between the two. Setu Hoshi, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. There are about 5,500 registered football players on the island. Nearly 10% of the population, according to Visit Greenland, the government's tourism agency. Despite the strong local interest, this year's championship comes hot on the heels of a massive disappointment in Greenland's international footballing aspirations. So last month, the CONCACAF, the governing body for football in North and Central America and the Caribbean, unanimously rejected the Green Atlantic Football Association's application to become a member. The island's closest geographical neighbour is Canada. Although technically a European territory, Greenland cannot join UEFA, Europe's football federation, because its members must be recognised as fully independent by the United Nations. God damn it. Meanwhile, the global football body FIFA requires national football associations to join a regional confederation like CONCACAF before being considered for FIFA membership. In other words, Greenland's hopes of playing competitive international football for the most time remained a pipe dream, leaving its national team with only unofficial friendlies. Its most recent fixture was a 5-0 loss to Turkishmen in a friendly played in Turkey last year. That sucks. Some Greenlanders have blamed politics for CONCACAF's decision in light of US President Donald Trump's threat to take control of the strategic mineral-rich island. The US President has not ruled out using military force to do so, despite strong rebucks from the government of Greenland and Denmark, a NATO ally. Greenlandic and Danish leaders said the island is not for sale and condemned the US for gathering more intelligence on the territory, which is self-governing but heavily reliant on Copenhagen for funding its public services and infrastructure. However, Patrick Ferguson, captain of the national team, believes CONCACAF's rejection comes down to money. We all know it's really expensive to travel to Greenland, he said. Other obstacles for the island's football associations are lacking of funding and limited infrastructure. For example, the national team of Faroe Islands is another self-governing Danish territory with similar population to Greenland, joined FIFA and UEFA more than 30 years ago. Yet that was before the sports governing bodies introduced requirements such as having a stadium with tens of thousands of seats, among other criteria. This is a great example to use to criticise them. Visit Greenland says a national stadium has long been on the wish list for many in Greenland. But with an area minimum of 40,000 seats, which will represent more than 70% of the population. It's sadly not in the pipeline, the agency said in its website. Overall, there's reportedly 20 or so artificial pitches across the island. They got 20 artificial pitches across the island. That's amazing. While the island's leading football figures have expressed their frustration at the rejection by CSN, CACAF, they said there are still bright spots on the horizon. Greenland is planning to play against Tuvalu, the Palestinian island to the South Pacific, later this year to raise awareness around climate change. The manager of the national team has said. There will also be a fixture against national amateur teams of Austria and Slovenia to be held in Vienna in October, according to the Football Association. In the meantime, all attention on domestic football matters. Last year's tournament saw B67 knock crowned champions after 3-1 win over the final over Nag Lagong Lagring -48. Don't ask me to pronounce that again. It was the 15th title for the island's most successful team, and they will be looking to defend it in their championship to be hosted in Greenland's capital since 2018. I wanted to share this story, guys. I wanted to share this story. I thought it was a mixed story here. How do you guys feel about playing football in Greenland? For all those football fanatics out there, how do you guys feel about that? Like, so in a serious point of view, like, I generally think like there is a cost to this, but if they can get a pitch inside, a generally decent sized pitch inside, it may be steps in the right direction for them. I do think it's absolute bollocks that they can't be part of a confederation or something just because of where they are as well. They're clearly passionate about football in Greenland, so do something to help them out. Like, let's do something to help them out. And I think the fact that just because they're not an independent country, and the Faroe Islands are not an independent country, yet they can take part in things. I just think it's nonsense. I think it's nonsense. The Greenlandic people have their own identity. They have their own. Yes, they're obviously culturally part Danish, of course, part of their history, but they're their own. They're their own state to a certain extent. And they want to be independent anyway. They want to be independent from Dane. They want to be on their own free will. But we obviously know that's not possible because obviously they rely on funding from Denmark, obviously, as well, to be able to run things. Why not Israel is playing in Europe when it should play the Middle East? In fact, we should insist they play in the Middle East, says Jal. Teams are I think Israel were due to face Ireland or something in one of the group stages, and the Irish team were considering boycotting it. I don't know if it was football or some other sport, but my advice to anyone, if they want to pressure the Israeli government, is boycott any matches or any sports relating to Israel to make it clear that we can't support you because of what's happening in the Middle East. That's my position. I know it because you have to force ordinary people into taking action who don't want to take action in any of it. So guys, we have reached the end of the show, but before we go, we've got our funny memes to go through. It would be nice if the funny memes were to pop up. Let me just make sure they're definitely going to come up. Are you going to come up? Hello? I'm just checking that they're coming up. For some reason, it's being slow. Can you... There we go. Hello? Hello? Yep. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yep. It's coming up. Yeah, funny memes was just playing up there for a second. Yeah, so I got 5 funny memes for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy these and get a bit of a laugh out of them. And by the way, do you guys like the background I've done as well? I was fiddling about for about an hour on all sorts of different backgrounds. So I've got some themed backgrounds to go with the water background with a lot of live streams now. And this one, I picked this one to go with the water theme one because it's obviously the map of the globe. I thought that was a pretty fancy one I found online. So there's gonna be other ones I will just point out, I'm not gonna Regan's viewpoint. The thumbnail is gonna have a bit of the Union Jack, but I'm not actually gonna have Union Jack banner behind me because I know some people aren't gonna approve of the UK flag. But it'll be just at least in the thumbnail at least. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. But you'll see some of the stuff over time anyway. So who's ready for funny memes, huh? Okay, here we go. This is the Wi-Fi password. It's the first 10 digits of the answer. So can you guys tell me what the Wi-Fi password is to get free Wi-Fi? I'll just turn my data on. Go on, give me the answer, guys. I know some of you guys can crack the code. When you can't afford something, so you just have to put it back. Yep. Just have to put the baby back in the back with the rest of them. Yep. Put the baby back. Can't afford it anymore. Too much. Too much. Just put it back. What archaeologists will find in 500 years? It's true. It's true, guys. It's true. Yesterday, I was walking down the street holding hands with my wife, and I suddenly dropped her hand, grabbed my cell phone to take this picture. She hit me in the chest, and she wouldn't talk to me for the rest of the day. Last night, she asked me, "How could you?" And I said, "How could I not? It's not every day you see a dog driving a car." I mean, look at that dog. I mean, he's literally got his paw out on the side as well. I mean, like, how cool is that? How often do you see like a dog posing like that? It's just phenomenal. When you are on a date and she goes to the bathroom and never comes back. That poor cat. He's been left. How could you turn down this poor feline? What an absolutely terrible person. To turn down this cat and not come back. I mean, look at that little cute bow tie, that tie on the cat. How can you say no to that? What an inexcusable, evil person to do that to that poor feline. Terrible, guys. Terrible. Terrible. It's just terrible, guys. It really, really is. I'm sure he'll find someone at some point, guys. I'm sure. So, guys, I want to say thank you guys for all coming along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you, Aston Kier, for the £5 super chat earlier today. I really appreciate your support, my friend. Really appreciate, guys, all your comments as well. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock for another Good Morning Show. If you can join me for that, it'd be greatly appreciated. We'll look at some UK news once again and see what's been happening in there. And obviously we'll be back with another live stream in the evening to Reganelite's watch along. We'll be watching along to stuff as well there. So thank you guys for coming along again. Much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your evenings and what you're doing. I will be on Max's live stream as well, and at 7:30 as well. I'm pretty sure there's no live stream at 7:30 because I believe Graham Hughes is on holiday anyway, so there'll be nothing happening at the moment. But yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Oh, good evening, Dame again. Sorry, we're just about ending, but thank you for popping in. I really appreciate it there. So thanks everyone for coming, and take care as always. If you can, hit the like button on your way out. Share this across social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content as well. Check out some of the other videos I've got on the home tab as well. Be greatly appreciated. And I hope to catch you all very, very soon.